for the courage of the fearless crew, the minnow would be lost.
Well, there we were. We were 6 days into our very first cruise. We had just left Bermuda. We were about halfway to the Azores, and there it was, probably about 3,000 miles out in the Atlantic Ocean. The captain, with a very strong Greek accent, comes on the intercom, piped throughout the ship. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is the captain speaking. Unfortunately, due to weather circumstances beyond our control, we will not be porting in the Azores tomorrow." And with that, the anxiety level shot up immediately. Next, he said, "We're going to go directly to Gibraltar and we'll spend a half a day in Gibraltar." Now, I'd never been to Gibraltar before, so this was not the end of the world. It's a place I always wanted to go. My wife had never been to the Azores. I kind of wanted her to see that. Well, this was just not going to happen. And so what did I do? Being a pilot, I started pulling down some weather maps that I was able to get over the internet. And sure enough, there was some extremely low barometric pressures, about 80 to 100 miles north of our position. And the winds were already cranking up to about 100 miles an hour. So yeah, it would not be an exaggeration to say that my anxiety level was getting up there. And what did FDR say once upon a time? He goes, "There is nothing to fear but fear itself." And of course, yeah, we were a little bit fearful. We didn't know what to expect. I mean, already the whitecaps were starting to kick up. The seas were at around 10 to 15 foot swells. And when you look from 12 stories down, they don't look that impressive. But when you get to sea level, and let's say that you were in a sailboat, I guarantee you that would have got your attention. And by the time we got to the Azores, or being the Azores, the wind was already up to about 80 to 90 knots, or roughly speaking, 90 miles an hour, right on the bow, or make that the stern of the ship. So at that point, the sea state was up to 25-foot swells, monster whitecaps coming off. And honestly, we didn't have a clue to expect. Look, I've been in severe turbulence in an airplane on several occasions, unfortunately, and it was not fun. One thing that I always heard about boats is that turbulence can just, or rough seas can just continue for days, if not weeks. So we had brought Dramamine, we were prepared for it, we just didn't know what to expect. And a very interesting thing, I got to asking a question of the engineer I'd met a couple of days earlier. I go, "How much can these ships list?" Actually, it's not list, it's heel, before they completely roll over. And he said that the ships can heel up to 60 degrees, which is quite substantial. He goes, "But anything beyond 15 degrees, we just avoid that altogether because that's extremely uncomfortable for the passengers on the ship." Well, everybody, my name is Guy Midkiff, and I'd love to welcome you to the Guy Midkiff Show. I've been out of it for several months, got some shoulder problems going on, created a 501c3 to help kids that are in public school getting ready to go. Well, we actually created a business academy. It blew up and went crazy. I'm looking to push that off to my board of directors as soon as I can because truly I enjoy doing this right here. It's challenging, it's difficult to write scripts, to video, to bring all the elements of a successful YouTube into play. And of course, you can help that out just by watching it and giving me comments. I'd appreciate that quite a bit. What do I try to do with the Guy Midkiff Show? I try to make your retirement better. And I don't only reach out to those that are in retirement. I also like to reach out to the lifelong learners, those that are thinking 10, 20, 30 years ahead, thinking about retirement. And what do you need to do to have a successful retirement? So I talk about what I call the 4Fs all the time. Family first, right? Financing. You can't have retirement if you don't have some degree of financing, or otherwise you're just going to be working in retirement. And that to me is not retirement. So family, financing, let's have fun, and of course, fitness. The name of this show today is going to be called A Retired Pilot's First Cruise. And what I want to do is use my experience to kind of guide me through the way I prepared for this cruise, and hopefully you can benefit from it. And by the way, I'm not only speaking to those that are 55 and up. I'm also talking to the lifelong learners that want to prepare, that want to learn about the 4Fs and how they can get themselves in a good position when they get ready to retire. So sit back, grab yourself a bucket of popcorn and your favorite adult beverage, and let's jump right into the Guy Midkiff Show, a retired pilot's first cruise. I don't know if you know it or not, but the number of we baby boomers that are exploding into the retirement market is quite extraordinary. 10,000 baby boomers are retiring, hitting retirement age or at least Social Security age every single day. And of that, a huge number of us, we make up about 20% of all the people that are on cruise ships. Some 5,000 cruise ships depart American shores every single year, and the numbers are growing. The way we go into this is simply overwhelming, and I'm going to dig in. I'm going to start with what I call the flight plan. So let's jump right into the flight plan. The flight plan will consist, I'll go into several topics. The first one will be budget, upsells, when and where to cruise, pre-cruise checklist, booking tips, how to pack right, cabin choices, deck etiquette, and at the end, I'll finish up with some notes and some parting comments. So let's start out the very first item on our schedule for today, and that would be budget and upsells. Look, you can spend anywhere. I've seen cruises for below $500, probably nothing to brag, to write home about, and go all the way up to $10, $20, $30, $40, $50,000, people that are on the ship for an entire year cruising around the world. So it's really important that you be honest and realistic about how much you can afford on a cruise. Upsells. Look, these ships are beautifully appointed. The artistry, the art features inside the ship that we were on. Matter of fact, let's just talk about the ship that I was on right quick. It's called an Edge class. Celebrity Cruise owns it, and it's called an Edge class ship, and it's called the Apex. You can probably see it over my shoulder back behind me. I'll zoom in on that so you can take a look at it. 1,000 feet long, holds roughly 2,200 people, with about double that in terms of staff. And they're there to make your cruise as pleasurable as possible, and the more items that they can sell you, even better. So keep in mind that the ship, whether you're at the casino or some of the more upscale restaurants or the drinks or the various excursion packages, they're there to make money. Don't hate on them for it, because that's how they afford these beautiful ships, pay these staff members to come in and work their butts off and do a great job. Now let's talk about the third item, or make that the second item, and that is when and where to cruise. Look, this gets really complicated. There are basically some shoulder seasons. There's some particular seasons that you can go out and cruise on, but at the end of the day, what it kind of comes down to is, are the kids in school or out of school? If they're out of school, the prices are a premium. Or if they're in school, January, February, March, unless they've had some kind of a break, you can get some really good deals, particularly in the month of March. That's when we took ours and had really phenomenal results. So again, learn about the shoulder seasons, the times that make a lot of sense. If you're going to Europe, forget about it. If you plan to go to Europe when they have their holiday, which can be all of July and August, sometimes even extending into June, July, August. Those are really, really tough months to get a good deal on. And I mean, just millions of people are out there cruising on those days. Where do you go? Literally, I could spend an entire episode on just talking about where to go. But at the end of the day, what makes a lot of sense is, for example, let's say that you live in Florida. Try to go out of some of the smaller ports instead of the larger ports. Miami, one of the larger ports, and you'll pay a premium for going out of there. But if you can go out of Fort Lauderdale or some of the other smaller ports, you can catch a pretty good ride. And if you do what's called a repositioning cruise, which we did, we left Fort Lauderdale, Bermuda, supposedly Azores. We ended up in Gibraltar, and then we ended up in Barcelona after that. It took 14 days. And because it was a repositioning cruise getting ready for the next season, you can get a really, really good deal. I'll see if I can find some information on that and put it up right above my shoulder here. The next thing is a pre-cruise checklist. And what I've done is, I'm a creature of habit. I always worked off checklists in the airplane. I'm going to do the same thing for you. I'm going to put together a pre-cruise checklist. Check it out. It's going to be down in the description section at the bottom of this video, and you can look into that. And by the way, if you have some items that you want to add to it, knock yourself out. Booking tips. Wow. So where do you go to get the best deal? That's a tough question. We got ours on a website called Perks, Perx.com. Now, if you're in the travel industry like I was coming out of the airline business, you can get some really good deals. There are a ton of different places to go to. I'm going to list a lot of those links down in the descriptions where you can go to that. If you've got some that you like, let's go ahead and throw them in there. And even travel agents that specialize in cruising, they could really help you out in picking the right kind of cabin, saving you some money, and building a relationship with them going into the future. Okay, folks, what I'm going to demonstrate here is the power and the value of using AI to search for all the previous criteria that I've spoken about. I use primarily 5 different AI sites that I will compare the information and pick between them which one is the best. I use Grok, I use Perplexity, I use Claude, I use Gemini, and I also use ChatGPT. So what you're about to see is a screen recording I made of myself actually going through this process, trying to find the best time to cruise, the best budget, the best ship to cruise on, and the best destination. So in this particular example, I chose to use Gemini only because Gemini is linked to Google. Google links up to a lot of good sites such as Google Flights, and I think it's a little more efficient. But anyhow, the prompt is really important that you use, and I'll just read it to you. Act as a world-class cruise ship travel agent, and what I'm looking for is a cruise out of Fort Lauderdale to any destination in the month of March for up to 7 days, maximum budget of $3,000 for 2 on either Royal Caribbean or Celebrity Cruise Lines, and the best cabin possible for that budget. So that's what you see here. To me, it's almost like magic, and I use AI for almost everything. Now, next topic is going to be called what I call pack right. And I have developed a video showing you a very efficient pack. That came as a result of a lot of years of flying, 35 years, as a matter of fact, of flying. And I learned to pack very efficiently. And one of the things I learned was to roll your clothes as opposed to laying them out flat. You can save about 1/3 of the space if you roll it really tight. My wife likes to use a little vacuum pack. I'll put a link in the description on that. It's got a little suction device on there. And I estimate that that'll save you about 20% on your space, maybe a couple inches on the flattening. Anyhow, check out the video. I think you'll really enjoy that. The next subject. Cabin choices. Oh my gosh, can we go down a rabbit hole on this one? There are over 14 different selections of where cabins are located and the accoutrements that go with them. I don't want to go too far into that because literally I feel like I could eat up 30 minutes just talking about cabin choices. Keep a couple of things in mind. The ship's app, which I'll talk about here in a minute, shows a diagram of where all the rooms are. Essentially, you're going to have rooms that can see the ocean and that can't see the ocean. And the ones that can see the ocean, they may be big ones, small ones, at the front of the ship ones, at the back of the ship ones. They may be obstructive views. They may be through a portal. They may be through a window, a veranda that goes up and down. Literally 14 different choices. Would give a woodpecker a headache, and they all have their own unique names. Deck etiquette. I think that this is something that just simply has to be talked about. You know, for us, we kind of minded our P's and Q's because we were new to cruising, so we didn't really have a good feel for deck etiquette. But here are some of the things that I picked up from talking to other passengers, one of which had already done 70 cruises, believe it or not. There's these guys that we call chair hogs, and they're the ones that like to come out 6 o'clock in the morning, saw this with their own eyes. Sometimes the ship crew tries to mitigate this to reduce it, but at the end of the day, those are the guys that will come out 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning when they go to breakfast maybe, go put a towel out, and they just completely disappear for the next 4 or 5 hours, expecting that towel to mark where their little fanny's gonna sit in that chair in 4 to 5 hours from now. Don't be a chair hog. Be considerate. Don't do that. Children. All right. We've had our kids. We've got a 22 and a 23-year-old, and they're off doing their own thing. This particular ship is not oriented towards children. Now, they do have a couple of spaces that they can occupy, but I'm just telling you, on a 14-day cruise, why do it? It's a lot easier to just take an airplane, get across in 6 to 7 hours, be done with it. And if you do bring your kids on board, please don't let them free range. All right, we've raised our kids. We don't need to raise more. I know it's a controversial topic, but it is a bee in the bonnet for a lot of people. One of the other things I want to talk about is public intoxication. You don't have to go very far on YouTube to find people that have made complete fools out of themselves. And by the way, that's going to live forever. Particularly, it seems like Carnival Cruise has more than their fair share out of Galveston and New Orleans. Just don't be that guy. Don't do that. Keep it under control. Have a good time, but you know, have a wingman. And if you start getting a little too far over the edge, have them take you back to the room. Okay, now let's talk about buffet bunnies. These are the guys. Let me back up and say the buffet is where you're going to have anywhere from 60 to 80% of your meals. It's just convenient. They have a ton of choices on this particular ship. I mean, I never really ate the same thing twice. Just simply phenomenal. But a couple of things, guys, all right? You have to get in line behind other people. If you're one of those guys that have a hard time making up your mind between the 20 different types of coffee and cappuccino and espresso or croissants or chocolate or whatever, do a low pass. Walk around first, look at what's all out there, then go grab your tray and get what you want. So keep it going. People like me kind of got a little bit of a New York impatient attitude about us, and we just want to keep it going so we can go outside and enjoy these beautiful cruises. The crew. These guys work so hard. Please respect them, all right? Most of them, 95% of them or better, are working their tails off. They work 7 days a week. They typically work 12 to 16 hours. It seems like our room porter was always there. Whenever we needed him, we were always there. To wit, I will say, you do tend to, you will pre-tip, pay for a pre-tip, which is fine. I mean, you can do it however you want. But what I did was I took a $100 bill, took it to the bank, and got 100 ones. And they're great just for giving out casual tips, particularly, you know, if your porter's doing a good job or your bartender's doing a good job. And trust me when I tell you, that is a great way to get on the good side of any bartender. Let's talk about words. Words can do a lot of damage and they can do a lot of good. If you're one of those guys that want to carry your politics or your religion and have a public discussion about it and piss off a lot of people on the cruise, just don't do it. We're all there to drink our pina coladas and our martinis, have a good time. Leave all of that at home. Let's all go have a good time. Let's all get along. Let's just enjoy the moment. One of the other things that I noticed were the Usain Bolts that love to go around the track. Most of these ships have a beautiful walking track. It's a great thing to do after a couple of drinks or a big meal. But some of these guys will come zipping past you trying to shoot a 4-minute mile. If you're in such a big rush, just go get get on one of the treadmills. Get on that and get going. Don't knock people over. It's not bowling ball, okay, guys? What else? Free rangers. Yeah, talked about that already. Those are the ones that tend to let their kids free range. This is a biggie here. Bootlegging whiskey on board or alcohol on board. This is a good way to get your fanny thrown off in, for example, Timbuktu. And they can drop you off wherever they want if you break the ship rules, which you already signed to, that you agree to. There's tons of videos out there talking about how to do it. I'm just saying, you do it at your own risk. So don't be that guy. Don't get yourself embarrassed or maybe even permanently banned from one of these cruise operations. Finally, we're going to get down to what I call my bon voyage. Can I say that word? Bon voyage. Finally, we're going to get down to my Bon Voyage notes. And a lot of those are in more detail are going to be in the descriptions below. Again, I'm trying to keep this short and sweet, just kind of give you a taste of what cruising is like. I'd say the first one is bring a friend, bring more. As long as these are people you've known for a long time and you know what they like to talk about and the things that they like to do. We went with a couple that I've known for 35 years, and man, they just added a whole new level to the experience. It was truly phenomenal. Here's a biggie. Same day fly-in of the cruise. Do not do that if you have any choice at all. As an airline captain with American Airlines, I brought so many people in a day late to their cruise because of mechanicals, because of weather, because of op tempo problems. Literally 20 different things on the chain that can break that chain of events and prevent you from getting on your cruise ship same day. Now, one of the things that you can do is go ahead and take out cruise insurance. We use Allianz. Again, it'll all be down in the cruise description. I can't drill too much into this or else I'll have a 1 hour long video. Download my checklist. We've already talked about that. I'm also going to give you a plethora of links to products, things that I thought was real important. You'll see over my right shoulder, you'll see a red Yeti. That's the 18-ounce Yeti. My friends, they had that custom made for the cruise. So they put the name of our ship on there, the date, and the 4 names, and we all 4 got these Yetis. And these things are unbelievable. I mean, they'll hold a cold drink for a day. I mean, we carried them with us everywhere we went. Speaking of alcohol, you are allowed to take up to 2 bottles. Now, these rules are subject to change. They won't charge you for it unless you bring it to dinner. And if you built up a good relationship with the staff in the dining rooms, they may not charge you a corking fee, but keep in mind they could possibly charge you 25 bucks. Or just drink it in your room, have some friends come over, have a cocktail hour, and finish your bottles off there. Not a bad idea at all. Excursions, very quickly. You can go through the ship's app to learn about the excursions. You will pay almost twice what everybody else is. We didn't want to take any risks, so we took ship excursions. And sure enough, the one in Bermuda was beautiful. The one in the Azores didn't happen, but because we used the ship assets to pay for that cruise, we did not have to, we got our money refunded. I will tell you that a lot of people do negotiate cruises once they get to port. Just remember, they will not respect ship's time the way that a ship-sponsored excursion will. And if you're late, that ship will not wait for you. I'm not kidding. Go on YouTube and check it out if you don't believe me. Cruise insurance, to me, for 250, 300 bucks, it's worth every penny of it. Don't forget what I call the 24-hour, the one-day bag. That's a backpack. Try to do your best, and I kind of talked about this in the video that I uploaded, but do your best to carry on a rollerboard. I've showed you how to do it on a 14-day cruise. It works smashingly for me. If you don't have to go through picking up your bags, at the end of a flight, you're going to save so much time you can't even imagine. When you get on the ship, you may have to wait for your luggage that you checked to get delivered to your room. Remember, they're doing 2,000 to 4,000 bags or more. So it could be later on in the evening when your bags finally show up. Well, a lot of the senior cruisers that have already done this know the hack on this, and what they will do is they'll put their swim trunks, maybe some flip-flops, a t-shirt, throw those in your 24-hour bag as well, along with all your important credentials, stuff that you don't want to get away from you, fancy watch, cash, etc., etc. Well, some parting thoughts. You'll probably be asking yourself at this point, would we ever do it again? And yes, we would. Matter of fact, I've already alluded to the fact that we'll be on the Azamara next year in 2026, and I'll certainly let you know how that goes. If you have suggestions on shows that you'd like me to shoot in the future or things that I could expand upon in this latest video, please let me know. Just put some comments in there. Also in the description, you're going to find a ton of links. I'm going to fill out some of these ideas about notes, hacks, ideas on how to make your cruise better. They'll be down in the description area, so check that out. And as I always love to say, Folks, let's get busy living.